Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our weekly Hebrew word study. We are in 2 Samuel chapter 4 and starting with verse 1. Um, we're going to have some interesting study again here today as we follow the life of David as he is ascending to the throne and God is making a pathway for him. And just want to show you again the beauty of the Hebrew and how it can really help us gain deeper understanding of what was going on there. So we get looking at the verse on your screen, Vayishma ben Shaul ki met Avner bechevron. And then, it just says that, Abner had died and the son of Saul was there also. And so Vayipru is a really interesting word here. It shows, it says he lost his heart, and he lost heart, and all Israel was troubled. Now, we're going to take a look at a beautiful feature here in Bible Hub showing the different translations, and it's under parallel. And so you click parallel, and what you get here is all these versions. And remember, it said that he lost heart. Well, the Hebrew Bible I was using, which caught my attention, it says all the Israelites were affrighted. That's from the JPS Bible. And so we look here that it says all Israel became alarmed, Israel became paralyzed with fear, Israel was dismayed, Israelites were troubled, he lost heart, all Israel was horrified, all Israel was disturbed, dismayed, horrified, dismayed. Well, are they troubled? Are they here one says his hands were paralyzed and all Israel was troubled. His hands were paralyzed and Israel grew faint. His hands were weakened and all Israel was troubled. Well, there's quite a few different renditions here of this. I mean, yeah, we get the basic gist of it that, they weren't happy and that they were feeling something. But what is the Hebrew really trying to tell us, and why are they having so much trouble um, coming up with this? And so this is where we have the beauty of taking a look at the Hebrew words, looking at the built-in lexicon that's here. And so let's go to this first one, which is numbered 7503. You hover over it with your little clicker, and it comes up with the word of Rapha. Now, Rapha is a beautiful word because it has the idea of healing. You will find that a very similar word spelled slightly different, but is used for healing. And the healing is associated with the meaning of the word that means to be at peace, to be relaxed, that your healing has taken place and causing you to ultimately be at peace with it is the word of this. But it also has the relative understanding of sync. Well, okay, if he was being healed and relaxing, what does that have to do with what the people were feeling? And of course, this is where the joy of the study comes in, and the tools that we have available to us. You look that here in ASB translation, they used this word has been translated many different ways, from abandon, alone, become helpless, discouraged, dropped, fail, loosen, lose courage, relax. So there's many, many different things. We scroll down to the Brown Driver Briggs. We see that it has a feeling or understanding of an easy life in the Arabic, which is a very closely associated language to the Hebrew. To sink down, hands will drop from their work, obviously indicating a response to fear. And so we have some really interesting things to look at here. And now let's go back to our text and say that, so this idea of relaxing, something happened. So we look at the next word, which is 3027, and the normal word for heart is lev, a and we don't see this being spelled out here. We see the word yud Dalet, and then Yud and Vav, which is the word for hand. And when we click on it, it's saying hand. Definitely is translated hand. Well, why do they translate it heart? So here we have two words that we have to try to fit together. It's the feeling of sinking, relaxing, maybe despairing, and it affects his hand. And again, Hebrew is not a scientific language. Hebrew is a poetic language and a relational and an emotional language, focus on emotion. So what is happening when this feeling is coming across all Israel? It said that their hands became weak. You get the idea that they had no strength. And yes, that can be translated in our English today that they lost heart, their heart wasn't in it. We have all these types of terms, but in Hebrew it would be that their hands became relaxed. They lost the strength in their hands. And so again, very interesting. And you see the struggle that the translators have is how to put it in something meaningful. And we saw that in the parallel Bible translations, there were a few that talked about the hand, which is a more correct translation. Because the word is hand and is not heart. And so you see what the translators go through as they try to take these words and put them in a meaning. And you can imagine the debates that they have over what words they should use to translate. And that's the joy and the uh, you know privilege, I guess, we have of being able to look at the Hebrew. And yes, we may come around with the same understanding or an understanding that's very similar, but if we really want to follow the words as they're there, we are benefited by the Hebrew and knowing that how this works and what they felt and what this caused them to identify with emotionally is that they lost all strength in their hands. Then we get to this next word, which is trouble, 926, which in the Hebrew Bible, Jerusalem Bible, or the JPS Bible, was translated that they had become affrighted. Well, it says it's troubled. Let's click on it and see where this takes us. And it's the word bahal, which means to disturb, to be terrified. Again, translated most of the time as dismayed, but it can be hastened, hurried, hasty, terrifies, tremble, be quick. So it helps us get a little bit of a mindset of what was happening here. I don't think frightened is a correct translation or even terrified. Um, so let's stay with the word disturbed and let's look at where this is coming from. In Hebrew, the verbs give us an understanding of how where this emotion is coming from. And this is a nephal, and the nephal expresses a simple action and it's a passive. So this is not something that they are all wired and fired up about because that would be a PL form or even an active form. This is a very passive form. It's one of the softest versions of a Hebrew verb that you can have and the less intense that they had. So this is not a very intense. So even the word troubled would be a stretch because it's not as even intense as troubled. I think dismayed, disheartened, maybe just they're just going, oh, this again. Um, and Israel is wondering what's going to happen. And of course, they're looking at these events. This is very similar to political events that we see, and you see things happen, and depending upon what party you're aligned with, you can see things happening in your own party, or you see things happening in other parties, or maybe you're not aligned with any of them, and you look at all of this and you go, oh my goodness, what's going on here? This is the type of feeling. And of course, just the fact that we see this in our own times today and in the times of our government, you can certainly see that things have just never changed through the eons of time. And people have looked at what's happening in here, definitely a political realm, a kingdom realm. There's civil war, there's fightings, there's tribes against each other, there's King Saul trying to kill the king to be David. and now David's coming in, but yet now Abner died, and now what's going to happen in our kingdom? And they just go, what is this world coming to? What's going on here? Where is God in all of this? All these things that we say and we wonder about with what's going on in our world today is all wrapped up in this verse, and it can cause your hands to become weak. It can cause you to want to not participate in anything. You can lose heart. You can be dismayed. All of these verbs and adjectives that we've talked about here to describe intensity all can affect you. But yet it's not crippling you so that you can't get out of bed in the morning, at least I hope not, and it's not keeping you from being with your family or going about your business, but it yet is always in the back of your mind. And that's where this verse, I think, just sums it all up. And again, the beauty of the Hebrew brings us into that realm and allows us to really get a good understanding of what was going on in the nation of Israel as things are trying to work out for David to eventually become king. So with that, we're going to close out for today. God bless you as you continue to listen and study, and I pray that this is a motivation to you, an encouragement to you to not be troubled, to know that God is in control of all things, no matter how things may look on the outward appearance. God's word will come to pass. It's all playing out exactly as he had foretold, and we just need to stay true to him and be faithful, and God will see us through. So God bless you all. Bye-bye.